So, thanks everyone. Let's get started.
Thank you. Well, as you already know, we come from a country with 3 official languages. In the part under Spanish administration, we have Basque and Spanish. And in the part under French administration, we have Basque and French. In this map, you can see the latest stats of the number of Basque language speakers per municipality in population percentage. Okay, the red ones are where there are more speakers, and the green ones where there are less speakers. But in our case, having a language is not enough, because our language spans in 2 countries and in 3 different regional administrations with 5 different language statuses. So we have different rights as speakers depending where we live. For instance, in the light green part, the leftmost part, is where we come from. The Basque language is an official language, which means that we as citizens have the same equal rights if we speak in Basque and in Spanish. And we have also rights to address the public administration in that language. It should be equal rights also for public workers, etc. Although lately we are having several judicial statements saying that speaking our language is a privilege, and no one should be forced to do that. Instead of promoting and protecting it, they are saying these kind of things. In Navarre, in the central part of the map, is the second part of the country that it's under Spanish administration. It's split in 3. The northernmost, the dark green, the status of the language is official, like in the green, light green. The blue part in the middle is like the mixed, where Basque language speakers have some rights. And in the brown part, in the southern part, the Basque language is as official as German. Indeed, in public administration, knowing German is more valuable than knowing Basque. And in the part of the country under French administration, the brown in the north, there is 0 official recognition of the language. Even, I know that this is a bit politics and I shouldn't be saying this here, but these words are from President Macron last week while presenting a dictionary of French language, saying that regional languages were an instrument of division of the nation. This is the, well, France. Sorry if you are French, but yeah. So now you understand why having a multilingual site in our country is important, not only for public administration, but also for companies and associations. And I will try to explain what options we have in Plone and what are the issues we face daily and you may face in the coming days. So this is the basic agenda. I will explain the basic multilingualism options that we have in Plone. Then I will talk about content translation. What about SEO, search engine optimization? And also some words about automatic translations. So I will start, I will show the UI of Classic, but this applies both for Classic and Volto. I'll let you know some specificities in Volto that you need to configure later on, but most options are enabled for both. Yeah. So without installing anything, Plone already provides basic language configuration where you can set the list of supported languages and you can configure which one is the default one. So what do we get with this configuration? We just get language change links in the top right of the site. We need to check always show language selector in order to get those links. But this lets to have a site where the interface messages are translated and the messages will be shown in our language. So in the breadcrumb, instead of having home, we will have inicio in Spanish or sarrera in Basque, or I don't know how is it in German, but yeah, you get the idea, right? Plone will not make any decision according to language of the content. It will also it will only change the interface text, the interface text that Plone itself creates. We need to go to the basic options and send use cookie and negotiation scheme and so, but yeah, it's quite easy. So this is an example with a site with 3 languages. In the topmost image is the site in Basque, I think. Yeah, and we click the language change to English and we get the exact same site, but with the options changed. perhaps you can see correctly the image, but the left bar, the left edit bar is in Basque in the first one, English in the second one, and in Spanish in the third one. So when is this setup useful? We really recommend this setup when you are handling non-content-ish data. If you provide content in your site, we think that the interface should be in the language of that interface, but perhaps you are offering graphs like you have done in Juicy, or you are offering PDF files or document listings or graphic or images. And then perhaps it's useful to have the interface in some languages, and you don't have to worry about multilingual content. You just provide documents. Plone also offers the option to have the site where we have a section of the site with a given language, and some other sections with others. So we have this option in the multilingual options set, named use language codes in URL path for manual override, and with that we get this. We can create a folder with the language code with its ID equal to the language code we want to have, and in that folder and below, the language of the site will match the setting of the language. So, for instance, in the topmost image, we have the site in Basque, and then we have, you can see in the navigation bar, two links, ES and EN, corresponding to Spanish and English language code, ISO codes. And if we go to the ES folder, or if we go to the EU folder, we can see that the language automatically changes without the need of anything else. And in the edit bar is the same. In the top image, we go to the ES folder, and the language is automatically changed. In the image below, we try to change the language into English, but the site is shown in Spanish because we are stick to the ES folder. Okay? This is useful, but to provide a section of your site in a given language, but you don't want to have a parallel content. You don't want to offer users the option to go from the news section in German to the news section in Spanish or to the news section in English, because your site is simple enough, and you want to send everyone to the root of the site, and you are not worried at all about language SEO and things like that. Plone also offers a similar configuration. Instead of using subfolder names, using subdomains like pt.mysite.com, you should go to the Portuguese site of the Portuguese part of the site, or using top-level domains like www.mysite.es, and should show the site in Spanish and things like that. But the functioning of the system is quite similar to the language path I said, but I don't find this very useful. We haven't used it. We have never used it, and it requires some configuration also in the front-end server. So I don't think it's useful at all. Plone, thanks to Plone app Multilingual, offers real multilingual support in the basic package. It's a core add-on since 6.1, and previously in Plone 5 and 6.0 was already included in the package. So this add-on tries to do the same that the old Lingua Plone did in Plone 3 and 2 and 4. Content is translatable. So in the content editing menu on the left, we have an option to translate the content, and what it does is create that content in the other part of the site corresponding to the language and link them. So having that, we can go from one content, from the news section in Spanish to the news section in English, for instance. It also offers language-independent fields. For instance, we should be adding the same image for the same news item in different languages. We also have language-independent folders for assets. We have a specific folder in the root of the language root of the ES folder, for instance, called assets, and all the images, all the files that we add there are automatically translated to the, not really translated, but are automatically linked to the other languages. It also offers hidden HTML links in the header, in the metadata, so that the search engines know IA bots, IA bots know which language the other content is in. And we also have a hidden gem, which is automatic translation integration that I will explain later. So installing it, we just go to the add-on control panel. We install Plone Multilingual, and the multilingual settings screen changes a little bit. We just have to select the languages we want. We hit save, and Plone will create all the language folders for each of the languages that we have configured. Those folders are called language root folders. They are their own content type, so they have their own interface. We can set behaviors there, or views, browser views, or whatever you want. And moreover, they are also navigation routes, so all the interface is based on that folder. The search is restricted to that navigation route. The breadcrumbs start from that navigation route, and everything like that. What does, well, I have already explained what a navigation route means. In Plone means that these are kind of subsites which are used to base for building navigation, search, and also breadcrumbs. In this example, we have seen how the main menu of the site has changed. Now we have, if we go to the EU folder, we just see the content that is inside it. And in the ES folder, it happens the same when we change language, and the EN folder also. The URL keeps the same structure as before, EU/EU/ES/EN. The content translation is integrated in the edit in the edit bar. We have the translate link there, where we can create the other languages content. We have create Basque, create Spanish here, and also the options to manage translations in order to, if we want to fix something, or add manually content that already is on the site but it's not linked, and things like that. If we, in an example here, if we click on Create Spanish, we are redirected to the so-called Bible view, where we can see on the left side the original content that we were on, and in the right side the form for the new content. On the left side we see About Us and the summary, and on the right side we see the form to translate that content in Spanish. After saving the content, and if we click again to create the translation for Basque, the Bible view will show on the left all the contents that are already translated. So here we already have the English version and the Spanish versions, and clicking on them, we can have the view of that content in that language, if it helps us to create the content that, in this case in Basque, that we are creating right now. Under the hood, Plone Multilingual creates a translation group, and this translation group's UUID is indexed in the catalog, and the translation groups links all the language translation. So we can query the catalog to get easily which is the translation of one content. And content translation not only creates the link between the content, it also sets the language attribute that we have in the metadata of the pages to the correct language, and it keeps it correctly no matter we move the content around the site. So if we create a document in the Spanish side in the Spanish part of the site, and I made a mistake and this should go to the Spanish part, we cut, we paste in the other side using the folder contents, and it automatically indexes it with the correct language. So bear in mind that translations, although handled especially with the content editor, are first-class contents. They are not special content. They are being news items, pages, folders. They are not special, not any special things in Plone. You can cut and paste them. You can move them somewhere else in the content tree without losing the link between the translation. They have their own publication and expiration dates. They can be even displayed differently with different views or layouts, different templates, and they can even have different sharing rules. You can edit this page in Spanish but not in English, for instance. Plone provides in the language selector links the content between the different languages. It uses the multilingual selector view and the UID of the translation group in order to provide the URLs of the other languages. This is a really fast way to change the language of the site, or to see this page in one language and go into the other one. As I said, it also adds this metadata HTML in the content. This is a signal for search engines and other add-ons in the browser or other services to provide the search engines the information that to get this page in some other language. This is very useful, for instance, when you have very large multilingual site for companies that offer different products. For instance, one kind of product in Germany and the other product in Italy, for instance. And now with these links, the search engine knows which content should be directed to. Yeah, okay. So until now, I have talked about the content, that we have a given content that has a given language. But how and what to do in the root of the site? What happens if you go to the site for the first time and you go to plone.org and you know that plone.org has 5 different languages? What does the browser do? What does Plone do? Well, Plone makes a language negotiation with the browser using a browser view called the language switcher, and this language switcher is set as a default view of the root of the site. So this view calls the language tool. It's a tool that we have in Plone since I don't know when, and it checks if the user has a language cookie with the preference saying that he should be directed to the correct language. If the user doesn't have this cookie, it checks the browser preferences. You know that in the browser you can set which are your language, which languages do you prefer to see a site on. So it negotiates the language with the browser, and if you don't have the selection of language that corresponds to the site, it goes to the default language. Overriding this behavior using the default override the language tool, the adapter, or whatever you have there is not an easy job, because the process is quite a bit hard-coded in language tool, but we think that it covers more than 90% of the use cases. But in any case, if you want to have a different behavior, it's just a browser view that calls a language tool. So you can do your own implementation in that language tool to, I don't know, to redirect the user always to give a language or whatever you want. Well, everything with multilingual content looks good until your client hires a SEO selling consultant and tells you that the site has a lot of problems. This has happened to us almost every day, because they don't rely on us regarding SEO. I don't know why, but then an external company used to do WordPress comes to tell you how to do. So the first thing they say is that the language change URLs are not direct, and we issue a 301 redirect between languages. I have explained that we have in standard Plone, we have this at multilingual selector URL, which is really handy because it's just a link where you don't have to do anything else. Well, if you have to override this, you need to make a query to the catalog, get the correct translation in the content tree, and change the URL. It can be done, but it's a bit of work to do it. Sometimes, if you don't click correctly the configuration options in the language control panel, Plone keeps showing the question mark set language equals ES kind of URLs that the SEO guys also complain about, because this creates a lot of duplicate content and stuff and blah, blah, blah. it's a nightmare for them and it's a nightmare for you. But yeah, it's right now it's quite easy to remove those links. Moreover, if you build some custom views with, for instance, extracting some information from a database or whatever, that you have some information in the URLs, these language change URLs can also create a lot of question mark product 123 ampersand set language equals FR and things like that. So just a bit careful with this kind of things. And what about Plone 6 and Volto UI? Well, in Volto, we need to configure that the site is multilingual because there are some problems that avoid Volto using the configuration of the backend. There are some runtime information that is needed to be available when Volto starts that is not available until you query Plone. So you need to configure that your site is multilingual and which are your supported languages in order Volto to get the language change information correctly. In the backend, you just install Plone app multilingual, configure the languages as usual, and in the front end, just configure the settings in your add-on product. We have the same options with the same power. Either using classic UI or Volto, you will have the same options for the content translation because the Plone REST API translations endpoint provides all the services required to get the translations of a given content, to create a new one, or to modify them. So now, from a couple of years now, we are everyone using AI tools to code, to create reports, but also to translate content. So how does this work with Plone? Can we get the power of these tools to create the content automatically, to translate the content? Well, we have it. We have it since the beginning of Plone app multilingual. It has an integration with Google Translate. Quite similarly, like Franco explained yesterday in his talk, but this time the Google Translate option is used to translate the content and then save it in the database. So in this video, I hope that we can see the video. Yeah, you're seeing the video there. We will go to the edit page. We click in the Google Translate icon that we see just next to the title, and it will get the translation directly from there. We save it, and it's done. Well, it's quite easy to do that. You have to get your Google Translate key. Yeah, you need to go to the Developers Cloud. Google may have changed the interface, so you are lost there, and so on. Yeah, you say yes. You know it's a nightmare to get an API key in Google, yeah. But you get the content quite easily translated. What happens in Volto? In Volto, we have this add-on from SCTClick, guys, called Volto-Google-Translate. You can install it in your Volto site. Right now, it needs the backend part, the SCTClick.Google Translate, but we may have some conversation there and integrate that in app multilingual, in Plone app multilingual. And right now, it provides the same features that I explained, but for Volto slate blocks and title blocks. So this is not a video, it's an static image, but you see the Google Translate icon next to the titles and the slate blocks. So when we click that button, it automatically calls Google Translate, gets the translation, and pastes it as a new block. But in this example is a site with the content in English translated into Catalan. But yeah, you can use any language pair that Google supports, which are, I don't know, a very long list. And for the 90% of the languages, I think it provides quite good translations. Not, for instance, for us. In Basque language, they have some glitches. That's why we worked on a solution for that, because, yeah, we have a couple of companies that provide automatic translation services for Basque language. So we wanted to do more than Google Translate. For instance, think that you already have in your organization some local translation tools. Many big agencies, for instance, in the European Commission level, they already have this kind of tools, or maybe your organization already has some translation department that handles the translation for you. You may integrate them with this tool. You can also use free translation tools like LibreTranslate, like Paul said yesterday in Franco's tool, or many other APIs that are available. Maybe you are using DeepL to do translations or whatever. So we created a pull request for Plone App Multilingual. Is the pull request number 468, which overrides this, generalizes this Google Translations API call with a pluggable system where you can provide your own implementation of a custom API, custom service to the translation and integrate that with Plone. It's right now it's a proof of concept that works quite well. We have tested with some APIs, very different APIs to get translations, and works really well. It's for the user is the same way of working like we have right now with Google Translate. You click and it returns the translate. All the changes are in the background. Okay, instead of calling the Google Translate Google browser view, it calls another browser view that makes the negotiation between different language services. So, as a conclusion for this talk, I want to stress that multilingualism is a hard thing. It's a hard topic, but Plone helps you on that. You need to take a lot of things into account. I said the languages, in the language-independent fields, language-independent assets, but language change URLs, things like that. But well, we have to leave that Plone Plone making some assumption for us. My recommendation is to follow Plone's assumptions, because sometimes if you try to fight against Plone decisions, you will be harmed. Okay. SEO guys will not be your friends, so live with that. Sorry. And the most important thing right now, I think that the automatic translation world is here, and Plone has an integration for it, and it's quite easy, and perhaps our users will benefit from that quite easily. Eskerrik asko, muchas gracias, obrigado, thank you, and some other languages also.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mikel. Anyone have any questions about the talk?
We recently had an implementation, and some of the editors, they just receive the content and have to copy and paste it in. But, and I saw it on your screenshot as well, when they switch to, let's say, between Portuguese and English, the interface changes language as well.
Yeah.
And for someone who really does not speak any English, that is troublesome. Is there a way around that?
Yeah, there was an add-on that used to work in Plone 4, and I think in Plone 5. In Plone 5 also works, that just overrides the language setting for the editors. We can find I can't recall the name, but yeah, s'il vous plaît, yeah. It's kind of French, right? Kind of, s'il vous plaît. Something like that, yeah. And from Miko, yeah, and it overrides the translation setting for the editor and shows it in the language of they want. Yeah. Americans asking about languages. Yeah.
Mikel, you said that SEO people will not be your friends, and Plone doesn't solve that problem?
Yes. Yeah.
So what are you saying, that SEO suffers if you use
No.
multilingual?
I'm not saying that it suffers, but some decisions that Plone made to build like the language URLs, for instance, are not well seen by SEO guys because they say, "Oh, you are building, you are creating redirects where there are no needed because you should be showing the link directly to the content and not to a redirect." Things like that. And sometimes if you have parameters in the URLs and so this language change URLs can be a bit messy. So that's what they don't like.
Thank you for your talk, Mikael. Pretty good. You showed the Babel view in Volto.
Yep.
And if you have a grid block and teaser blocks and those kind of things, will that also already work with the Google Translate thing?
Right now, it works only for Slate blocks, as I was said by Mark. Perhaps he has more information on that, but yeah.
Okay, so if you have a heading block, for instance, or something, then you would need to implement that specifically.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were looking at that, and now we were going to look at this add-on, and let's see how we can make this translation thing work with that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not an easy topic because in classic UI, this browser view takes into account the field name of the content that you are translating in order to get the content from that field to send it to Google, and things like that. Yeah, and we may need to change that here in Volto because we know that every block stores the content in different attributes. So we may need to look at that. But I think it's at least something that is doable. Yeah.
Second question is, you mentioned DeepL, which is quite popular in Germany, and lots of clients are asking for that. So I had a look at your pull request, and that generalizes basically the API calls, right?
Yep.
So is there already an implementation for DeepL, or is that something that someone would need to implement on top of your PR?
Yeah. I don't have the code for DeepL, but someone need to implement that. But it's not a big deal. It's just a couple lines of code. I have code to link to Libre Translate, for instance, but not for DeepL. But it's not a big deal.
Okay, I might point a colleague then in your direction if they need direction. Thanks.
So anyone, any more questions? No? Okay. So thanks, Mikael. Thank
you.
everyone. A round of applause for Mikael, please.